I think the relationship between the two, it's kind of a weird relationship in the sense that I think it comes down to the mentality that we've grown up with, that it's always been like, keep your head down, don't say anything, don't be outspoken. You know, like I remember my parents are immigrants in this country. I remember they always told me, we're here to work, we're here for you to get an education, don't try to like make a scene out of things, you know, just move on, keep your head down kind of stuff. And I think that's the relationship that I feel like as a personal experience has been for me in terms of like the law enforcement. So it's kind of in a sense of like an underlying fear.
I know my personal experience is, me personally, when I do drive, I do get scared when I see a cop. I am undocumented, I am a DACA student, so I know for me personally it might be different with someone who is documented. So for me personally, like I do get scared because you honestly never know the officer that's gonna stop you. I know like one time my mom got stopped just because of like lights, and it was like something small, and in my head I was like even for like a light, like something could happen to her. I just get scared, like I'll just be driving and I see a car, like my heart will automatically stop even if I'm not doing anything, and I feel like sometimes that affects me just because it makes me nervous. And so like that's an issue for me because I feel like when I get nervous, I'll just do something to mess up. And so it's just a scary thing in my part just because I'm in my situation.
So it's very tricky to talk about this topic because essentially it's very dangerous. Because a lot of people fear the police, you know, and it's not just like, you know, Latinx people, it's, you know, people of African American descent, especially at, you know, at this point in time. So it's very like, you have to take steps to basically avoid them. I say it's very heated right now, mainly because of one, the ICE raids, and two, it's just that general distinction of, or the general idea that, you know, one, ICE and the police force are generally the same. You know, I understand them as separate, but to my parents, you know, they don't know that. And so whenever they come across them, it instills fear, basically. Personally, like I've worked with law enforcement before, so I've seen the humble side of it, but at the same time, I've seen all these videos. So I'm kind of mixed. You know, I'm very humble to say that, you know, every cop or law enforcement officer that I've encountered with have been super humble and super kind to me. So I have no ill will to them, but I still kind of, you know, walk on eggshells, you know, whenever I walk around, you know, law enforcement, because I don't know what's gonna happen. So that's just me. Latinx is a minority group, and so in any single piece of trouble that we get ourselves in, we're more likely to be, you know, prosecuted, to be treated as less than human. So yeah, no, I definitely think that, you know, when, you know, coming up to law enforcement, you know, a lot of us don't do that just because of, one, you know, people already assume that we're not legal and we don't deserve to be here, but two, it's just, you know, as a minority group, you know, we're generally seen as lesser than, and don't contribute to as much as, you know, everybody else. So we gotta play it safe.
There's so much going on, especially like in light of like the whole DACA rally that happened recently. It's just, there's so much, I feel like it comes down to having that discussion really, because it's that fear as well of ICE, and so many like people at the minute we start talking about law enforcement, it's seen so negatively. And I know there is more than likely a lot of people within the law enforcement who are good people and are wanting to do a difference within, but it is like those few within that law enforcement community that have put in a bad name for like all of those. But at the same time, we need to hold accountable of those who have given a bad name to law enforcement and who are there to just demeanor most than anything our community.